Welcome to Game Soup, it's a game design podcast where we throw ideas in a pot and see what's cooking. I'm Chloe Montgomery and I'm joined by your 1,000-year-old vampire's 1,000-year-old vampire.
Kayla Dice. I don't think I'm particularly vampire coded in any way beyond being extremely pale. And I don't like garlic, but also I don't like many things. And I will die if you stab a stake into my heart. So actually maybe there's more in common than I realize.
Sources are saying.
How have you been this week, Chloe?
I'm good. I had a busy little worky weekend and I was a little bit ill, but I'm doing better now. And yeah, I had an idea for based on that Doctor Who thing we were talking about last week. I've kind of possibly got an idea on how to work that into an actual product. So keep your eyes on the horizon, I suppose.
That's interesting and fun.
How about you, honey?
I've been good. I went to Norwich Gamescom, which was a lot of fun. I sold a lot of games. I did a live podcast. I walked down a hill and up it.
Always good.
But it was a good con. It was nice. The pulse of the people is one-shot games are in, which is great news for me, who currently feels best placed to design one-shot games because that's mainly what I'm playing.
Yeah, they're easier to playtest.
Yeah, that as well. You don't necessarily need to do that. But also it's just I don't know, I think there's a difference. I think I fully value different things in running a one-shot game to a game I would be playing longer with people who I already know. Mainly a lot of structure I find really useful in a one-shot game, and it's just not as necessary, I feel in a longer going game. To some extent, it can just be a first session's scaffold in other places that goes away, but I think also one-shot games are very good endings a lot of time. Often the case of games without that in mind. But yeah, that's given me some things to think about whatever stuff I end up doing next year. I've been working more on the revisions for Nemesis Revealed. So I've made the changes to a static narrator, rotating hero and Nemesis scenes, changing out reputations to strengths and weaknesses, and then I think that's made all of the individual playsets way tighter than they were. I've got most of my examples of play done now. I need to add in some more, and then I think it would make sense to playtest this game. But because I always run my anytime I'm running games at this point, I'm running it at a queer social at a board game cafe near me. And I'm I feel I need to run something that's not... I don't feel I'm definitely allowed to, but I'd feel bad running a playtest as the two things I run in a row. Especially for it being the same game. So I'm I maybe need to bounce on something else first, and then I think it would be fun to playtest this again. I feel renaming it again. From the game that was once Shadow, the other side of the coin, to the other side of the coin, to Nemesis Revealed. Basically, I think Nemesis Revealed was a fun name when the focus of the game was you never see the hero. And Nemesis is still a good word, so I want to keep that part of it. But I think Revealed has less meaning, and it's not it's a super poppy name or word just by itself. My current thing I've pitched to you, and you said you liked it, but then seemed credulous when I brought it up off mic, was Nemesis Retribution.
It's giving Metal Gear Rising Revengeance.
I think that's fine and good. I think that's actually a really great atmosphere to channel.
Well, there you go. The spiritual successor to Revengeance. It's Nemesis Retribution. Coming soon to Ratway Games.
I'll definitely fuck up spelling that at cons if it ends up being something I print. It's somewhere I've got to check the size of this when I've finished writing it and see whether it's something that like I do with Out of the Fold, where I'm I'm just going to post this game out now, or whether I'm oh, this size, and if I did more playsets and stuff, could be I don't know, a bigger game that maybe would more be for next year or whatever. But also it's superhero-y. I don't know. It's a lot to figure out, and
Yeah.
I'm happy with where that project is at currently. I've also been playing some Thirsty Suitors. Do you know what Thirsty Suitors is?
I think it's... I want to say it's a dating game, but you're, like, doing Pokemon battles to flirt with people, but that might just be like, no, that's just what we did, like, 2 weeks ago on the pod.
We did do that on the pod. You're not entirely wrong. I'm not sure how much of a dating game it is. It's about dating, but I don't think it's like a dating sim so much, at least so far. You're a girl returning to her hometown, and she's confronting her family and, like, all of her various exes. And then, like, stuff is resolved as, like, sort of, like, turn-based combat, where there's also some, like, rhythm game stuff, and there's a skateboarding mechanic in it. It's fun because it's, like, incredibly messy, like, queer drama stuff, but then also, like, in fights in people's fucking, like, inner world mind palace places. The more I play it, the more I'm like, I think this is the most Ratwave Gamehouse a video game has ever been.
So, what? It's like Mind Palace fights. Why are you fighting people? I thought these. Are you trying to get back with people? Are you trying to Seven Evil X them? What's happening?
Some of them are Seven Evil Xing you. Some are, I guess, more like sort of interested in getting back together, and you're maybe flirting back with them or rebuffing them. Everything's played out as fights. I don't know if they're really just like these are representations of arguments. But yeah, it's mainly because it's, I guess, yeah, a representation of that. It's kind of Psycho Dungeon. I think every time I make a BOB game, I'm doomed to play a video game sometime after finishing it and realize how, like, connected they could be.
So is there a tabletop game in Thirsty Suitors?
Yeah, but I feel a tabletop game is half Swamp Creature, half to embrace a Swamp Creature, half Psycho Dungeon. I think it's the thing. I think like the turn-based stuff would actually convert really well. Like you give a range of attacks that you have to roll on. They're kind of like one-on-one. The dating aspect stuff, I can see how you like. You know, that's mainly in roleplay, but also, I guess you could use the sort of like L-word style chart of relationships I've done in games before, where you get an inherently messy dynamic to start things off. I think the thing where I'd most be like, oh, I don't see how you could convert this thing into a board game, is like the skating thing. Because it's not as complicated, but it's very Tony Hawk. And I know there are skateboarding games, but I've not actually read any of them.
Yeah, I don't know how
you into any of the skateboarding games?
Like, what was it, Ollie Ollie or something? But that's also a video game. No, I don't.
Yeah.
I'm trying to work out how you even do a skateboard, like combo stuff in.
Yeah, because they are all about
like
combos.
Yeah, I'm thinking if I was going to do like a combo-based skateboarding game, I'd probably do like a deck builder where a lot of your like chaining tricks, like draw cards so you can do cool tricks, and like as you're doing tricks, your miniature or whatever is moving around this board, and you can do certain tricks off of ramps and rails and whatever.
Yeah. My mind just went to, is there something with like... Okay, hear me out, because I feel like I might explain this badly, but maybe there's something in it. Like, maybe it's a thing of, like, you roll a number of d20s. I don't know how many. And then every face result that is the size of another dice, so, like, any 6, 8, 12, or 10, it's like, oh, you get to roll one of those dice as well. And, like, obviously if any of those also land, yeah, like, if your d6 shows up before, it's like, cool, you roll another d4 then. And like that total number is your combo.
See, what I was trying to channel is like in like Magic or whatever, when you get like a really good combo going, and it's like, right, I play this card and that lets me draw another card, and then that card lets me fetch a card from my deck, and then that sets up a combo between these two cards, so that gets me another card. It's like doing all this mechanical like interaction between your cards in your deck, and oh, well, this card on my field lets me play this card for cheaper, and then that lets me untap all my mana so I can do extra stuff. It's like, that's what I'm trying to do with this skateboarding thing. Like with the cards.
Yeah. If you, like, custom printed some stuff.
Yeah, and
yeah,
it's
I
like
feel with, like, the world of
maybe
First
like
Suitors
each
and
trick has a dice on it that you roll to like get your points for your combo. So it's like you
yeah,
could just like do one really good trick, and that might be like somebody's. Yeah, I did 6 kickflips in a row.
yeah. No, that's fun. You know, the interesting thing is, I feel like First Suitors world is so defined as, like, oh, it's this story about this character, that, like, adapting all of these mechanics to tabletop would be very easy, but would not necessarily feel like a role-playing game. I feel like this is so much more solidly a board game if you're doing, oh, what's First Suitors the RPG? I guess if you were doing something that's like, oh, what's this serial numbers filed off, it can become an RPG, because you have to make new characters.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like that she is, like, that this is very messy queer drama where, like, she's so not likable in any of these breakups, which is awesome.
It's like if you had like a really like mutual breakup though, and it's like, oh yeah, you want to get back together? Cool. Okay. Game's over. You need to like recover your character's image in these people's eyes. So it's the gameplay though, right?
Yeah. I was talking, and it's similar to the Scott Pilgrim question before, of like, oh, seeing all of the X's, like, Inner World Mind Palace has made me wonder both, like, what would the Inner World Mind Palace be of various X's I've had? But also, what would my own be if I'm someone's X's being confronted?
I don't want to
answer the question, Chloe.
Oh, yours. I'm not your ex.
No, I just meant, but yeah, I don't think we need to put any of my exes on blast.
I was like, I could like give some ideas to my exes, but I don't want to put them on blast. I'm pretty good with all my exes.
I'm nominally good with most exes, except for ones I'm not. But I'm like, that's a healthy enough balance that I don't think it says anything bad about me.
Yeah.
But yeah. So what have you been playing this week?
Lots of Team Fortress 2. I'm back in the yearly hyperfixation. Been doing lots of trading, got lots of new hats. Installed a mod so Pyro's a girl now. You know, it's all good stuff.
Pyro's a girl and you've got a hat.
What else do you need in life? I don't know what the Team Fortress RPG is though. I could see a war game, but I'm not getting into that hole again.
I know, like, I've seen, like, Choke was a really cool, like, attempt at doing, like, first-person shooter stuff in, TTRPGs. Though I think, like, its style of focus is a bit sort of different.
Yeah. I think, actually, if I was going to do a Team Fortress 2 RPG, I would do it little... Like, you wouldn't do any of the shooting in the game. You would only ever play the scenes in between, like, the actual games in the video game. Because, like, they're all mercenaries working for these shell companies, fighting over gravel, basically.
Because it's all of the sort of pre-game lobby stuff.
Yeah, it would be like, oh yeah, so Sniper and Engineer are having a coffee. They're talking about how Scout went on a date last night and totally fucked everything up again. It's like you'd have these like 9 pre-made characters and maybe like 1 or 2 people around the office. It would be The Office, but with 9 hyper-lethal idiots.
I feel like this name might have already been taken, because I'm like, pre-game lobby would be the perfect name for this.
I do like that, yeah. I could see, if I was going to call a game pre-game lobby and then make it, I would end up making something like those bits in Wreck-It Ralph where they're in like the extension plug or whatever it is.
So I figure, like, if it's sort of just conversation stuff, maybe it's like BOB or something else for Okuts. But do you then have like some just like really short mechanic where you roll like a shit ton of dice to decide however the like shooting went between sessions?
Yeah, I think in between each session you roll however many dice per player to determine how each of your missions went over the week between your session. And then that affects things in the game. Like, oh, if you did pretty well, then you've been given a bonus, or there's a new vending machine in the office or something. I don't know. Like, just really banal. Yeah, you killed 12 people. Here's a hat.
Yeah, you got to give out a lot of hats. Even though I know it's not necessarily how hats always work, but I feel that would be important to your game. This is fun. I had another idea from a few weeks ago, and then we cut it off last week because I did lesbian erasure.
It's my new band name.
It does sound like I assume a tribute act, yeah. But a couple of weeks ago,
So,
God, I've realised that this
go ahead.
segue from me going, oh, I just did lesbian erasure is going to be awful. A couple of weeks ago, I was with my boyfriend. Just want to make it really clear, I love and respect many lesbians.
But not any on this pod.
But I was with my boyfriend. We took a trip to Cambridge, and he took me punting, which is where they you're in a boat. If you don't know what this is, you have a big stick, and you use the stick to push you along the bottom of the water. That's not the super relevant thing here. The relevant thing is there's loads of tour guides, tours in Cambridge, which is punting along the river, and I was noticing oh, all of these people. Some of them all work for the same company, but some of them work for entirely different companies. And I just was idly thinking, do these guys have, a rivalry? And for some reason, I do think there's something interesting in the idea of a game about rival tour guides over the same spots. It doesn't need to be, a boat thing. The fun of that is it's all just, an up and down line they're going along. It could be, walking tours or stuff. I feel it's maybe with, this being, roll and move, almost. Which is not otherwise a thing you use much in games.
Yeah, I like you having a little board that is your little town or your rivers or whatever, and you roll to move, and maybe depending on who's in your group, it's modified. It's whenever you come across one of these landmarks, I don't know if you do a roll or if you do a little speech about this place, but maybe you can also vandalize it or leave something for the other tour guides.
Yeah, I feel there's sabotage chances, and there's both stuff about how your own tour is going.
Yeah.
Do you think this is a game where you all play separate rivals? Or do you think you're a singular tour guide crew, a thing that doesn't necessarily massively exist, but it would make the game more interesting, as players, and the GM is in charge of all of the other rival crews?
I think this is a competitive board game that you get in
Yeah, that's why I was trying to add that, maybe the GM controls everyone else's NPCs, because that can shift it back to role-playing. Because it's how are you doing stuff together? How are you working together? What do you think about this rival as they come up on you?
No, this lives on the dusty bottom shelf of the board games in the board game cafe.
I desperately try... I feel we've gone a fair bit more board gamey here than we usually plan to. I'm desperately trying to claw us back to role-playing, and you're nah, fuck it. Board game is game. Game is game.
Game is game. It's all about the game.
Thank you for listening to Game Soup.
Okay. Welcome to Game Soup. It's a game design podcast. What's an RPG?